Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today we're back with another build video, this being my premier TU10.1 support set. Basically, from the moment that they announced the Booster Hive would be trading out its weapon damage buff for hazard protection, I knew I needed to make this build. As I'm sure all of my PvP audience can attest to, Satisfix have been a go-to ever since TU8 and Gear 2.0 introduced them as a gear role, from the original Imperial Dynasty holster, to the Stinger Hive, to the Firestarter, and most recently Eclipse Protocol. They've been pretty rampant, but I'm very happy to report that the new and improved Booster Hive is a counter, a hard counter. That's right, even to the Riot Foam. We'll get to that specifically later on. And not only are you granting you and your team hazard protection from this build, the way I've got it set up, you're dishing out several other buffs as well that can really turn the tide of a fight for your group and give you an edge over your opponents. Without further ado, let's see what it's all about. Alright, let's get into it. We've got a lot to cover. I will try to go as quickly as possible so that I don't ramble too much, but let's start with the weapons as per usual. I have a custom P416 with Reformation. This is the talent you're going to want to maximize your healing potential with the Chem launcher. I'm sure that some people are going to say I should run Future Perfect on this, on the either the Mechanical Animal or something else. Overcharge does not work in the DZ, so if this is a PvP setup, then it wouldn't make sense for me to use that, because then I'm just wasting a talent there, so Reformation is what I recommend. For the secondary, you can really use whatever. I just have a Baker's on because obviously M1As do high damage, and that's kind of the go-to. And then Pistol, I just have the Orbit. Use whatever you want here. Moving on to the gear. My mask, I have one piece of Alp Summit on this build for 20% repair skills. I have one skill tier, skill haste, repair skills, and a skill haste mod. You're going to want to get skill haste on everything as much as you possibly can. This is because the whole key to this build is to have as much uptime on that Booster Hive buff as possible. And so to make sure your charges don't run out when you have 4 people eating away those charges every 5 seconds, you want to have as much skill haste as you can so that as soon as it does deplenish, they can recharge as fast as possible. So make sure you're getting skill haste everywhere, and I will show you the best way to do that. Moving on to my chest piece, we have one of 2 pieces of Murakami on the build, which total is giving me 20% skill duration and 20% repair skills. And then I have a skill tier, of course, skill haste and repair skills rolled, and a skill haste mod. And then for the talent, we have Empathic Resolve, which is repairing an ally increases their total weapon and skill damage by 15% for 20 seconds. And the effectiveness is increased by your skill tier. Since we're at skill tier 6, that is 15%. And this is obviously going to be very helpful. I mean, you could run something like Unbreakable to give yourself more survivability, but I just think on a build that's focused on buffing up your team, this is kind of a must run. Moving on to the holster, we have the improvised holster, which I made a video about the other week. A lot of people found that helpful, and so I'm really glad about that. And why I'm using this on here is to get the extra yellow mod slot. If you didn't know, it comes with one, and if you don't know where to get this, you can craft it at the crafting station. Just go to holsters, scroll all the way down, and you will see this near the bottom. It comes with a yellow mod slot on a holster, which is the only one in the game that can get that. And so you're going to get an extra 12%, or in my case 11.7 skill haste on that, which just helps you out that much more. I have one roll of armor on here because I am using Technician to get the free skill tier, so I can boost my survivability since I'm not really dealing any damage. I think armor is more worthwhile over weapon damage. And then of course I have skill haste and repair skills rolled for the attributes. Moving on to the backpack, we have my second piece of Murakami, obviously skill tier, skill haste, skill repair rolls, and a skill haste mod. And for my talent, I have Overclock, which not a lot of people use. You probably have almost never seen this on a build video before. There are other options you could do, of course, like Safeguard or stuff like that. I just think Overclock, when you're already focused on buffing up your team, this is just kind of nice to have. It's going to give your allies an extra 25% reload speed and reduced active cooldowns when they're within 7 meters of your hive. Is it going to be active 100% of the time? No, but I just think that like I said, on a build that's focused on it, this is something nice to run and can just give you and your team that much more of an edge over the other players. And that reload speed obviously is going to stack with the super high weapon handling on your booster, so you can, like if your team is running an LMG on their build, then that's just going to make the reload insanely fast. So I just think this gives that extra nice little edge. So if you want to run something else, you could, but I recommend trying out Overclock. It's pretty nice. For the gloves, we have the BTSUs, which obviously can't give you the overcharge buff in PvP and the DZ, but what it does give you with TU10 is the 15% skill haste for the hives per skill tier, which at tier 6 is giving you 90% extra skill haste. This is a must run. This is how you're going to get that cooldown on the Booster Hive, the refresh charge per charge so low. And obviously this comes with one skill tier, skill haste, and repair skills like everywhere else on the build. And finally, for the knee pads, we have one piece of Hanny U to give that 10% skill haste, one skill tier, repair skills, and skill haste. Now, drumroll please, let's take a look at the Booster Hive, the main selling point of this entire build. My refill speed per charge is 0.6 seconds. That's right, with all of that skill haste combined, everything I've dedicated to it, I can get it down to 0.6 seconds. And I'm missing, on some of these pieces, I'm 2% off the max, if I got maxed out, skill haste everywhere, I might be able to squeak it up to 0.5 seconds, but 0.6 in PvP is still really fast. Let me just come out here and show you what it is. I'll destroy it. You're not going to get overcharged like I said in the DZ, but you can see that refill speed, it's pretty quick. So if your team is eating through it and you have, I don't know, 10 charges left and you exit combat, make sure you pick it up so your stuff starts refilling as fast as possible before you enter the next engagement. You want to keep that uptime as high as possible so that if you do run out, you're not, vulnerable from losing out on that hazard protection if someone is waiting with a status nearby. But beyond that, like I said, I have 36 charges with a buff amount of 61.9%. I feel a little misled with what the dev said on State of the Game. They were making it sound like you could get this buff up to 90% with mods, but I have a stim efficiency mod, and if I take it off, it's at 60%. So that's only giving me 1.9, even though the stim efficiency is 9.4%. It's because each tier, it's going up by like 33% each tier. So there's a lot of math involved there. You can't actually get to 90%. I think what they meant is when you overcharge it, you can get to 90%. But in PvP, about the most you're going to be able to get is 62% if you had a maxed out mod. And so you're just going to have to live with that. I will show the Riot Foam later on. It still can handle that pretty well, and it gets rid of a lot of statuses really quickly. As long as you keep your team healed and you have this buff active, you will have no trouble with statuses, trust me. So this is still going to be really good, even at 60%. And then quickly taking a look at the heal, I just have the Chem Launcher heal. And what's nice about 10.1 is that they actually add an extra ammo charge at tier 4, I believe, of the Reinforcer and most of the Chem Launcher mods. So you actually have 9 ammo charges now at tier 6. And then my PvP repair is 590,000 for that burst heal when you shoot it on them, and then 118k per second for that overtime tick. And additionally, what's really nice about having all the skill haste on this build is that the ammo cooldown per charge is only 13 seconds. So you can really be pretty generous in shooting these out to your teammates as often as you need to, because that cooldown and the amount of ammo you have is going to make sure you're always filled up with heals. So it's a pretty nice combination to have, I must say. And lastly, yes, I am using the Technician specialization. On most of my builds, I give an option here for what spec you want to run, but I 100% recommend the Technician for this setup. That's for a few reasons. One, of course, you get the free skill tier, meaning you can have an armor roll, so you have a bit more survivability instead of the 700k armor setup like usual tier 6 sets have. You also get an extra buff to add on to the array of buffs you're already giving out to your team, and that's Faraday Field. If you don't know what it does, it's whenever you or your teammates are within 5 meters of your deployed and undisrupted skills. So as long as your booster is down and not disrupted, whenever your teammates are within 5 meters of that, they're immune from shock and disrupt, which can be really nice against the jammer pulse or EMP or whatever. Like I said, it's just another thing to add on to what this build can give out and do, and given that you get the free skill tier with Technician, I 100% recommend the Technician with this build. Alright, so obviously this video isn't a lot about clips of me using this build in action, because you're not going to be getting a lot of plays yourself when you use this. Your whole goal is to have all of these buffs that you can give your team so that they can perform at a higher level and have an edge over everyone else on the field in front of them. And so what I wanted to do was have a frame here where we compile all of the buffs that this build has to offer and show them all out on a list so you can see everything that this has to offer for you and your team. Starting off with the most obvious, we have the benefits of the Booster Hive. So as long as you're within its radius, you and your teammates are getting buffs to hazard protection, weapon handling, and melee damage at a value, on this setup at least, at 61.9%. Then as long as you're within 7 meters of your Booster Hive while it's on the ground, you're getting the benefits of Overclock, which is 25% reduction to your reload speed and a 0.2 second reduction to your teammates' active cooldowns every second that they are within that 7 meters. And then beyond that, when your teammates are within 5 meters of the hive and your hive is undisrupted, then they are getting the benefits of Faraday Field from the Technician specialization, which means that they are immune from shock and disrupt. And then the last buff that you give out to your team that's separate from the booster and all of that is the Empathic Resolve from your Chem Launcher heal. Whenever you heal up your teammates, they're getting 15% extra damage for 20 seconds. And one thing I just wanted to point out quickly is that Overclock actually is a really nice ability that allows you and your teammates to see when they're within the correct range of the hive to receive its benefits. So if I throw my booster out here, then you can see that blue line that's going from me to it is the benefit of overclocking. You can see it on my HUD as that blue battery symbol. So as soon as I leave that 7 meter range, it's going to go away, go a little bit further, and then the buff disappears from my HUD. So as long as you see that blue line and you see the battery symbol on your HUD, you're getting the benefits of Overclock, which again is that reload speed reduction and that cooldown reduction for your teammates. And then while Overclock has a 7 meter range, the Faraday Field from Technician is 5 meters. So you're going to have to kind of gauge it. If this is about 7 meters, this is about the farthest away you can get from it, then 5 meters is probably here-ish. you know, you're going to have to gauge it a little bit. You might want to test it out a bit in the DZ so you can get that exact range, but around that, you'll know that if you're a little bit closer than the max range of overclock, you're also getting the benefit of Faraday field to get the full range of benefits from the Hive. Alright, so as I'm sure many of you want to see a demonstration with the foam launcher, because riot foam is pretty prevalent in pretty much any PvP scenario these days, and so how does this fare up against that? Well, my friend here has put together a little makeshift build just to kind of demonstrate how it does against this. This isn't really stat effect focused, but it does have 6 skill tiers, and he is using the foam launcher to get all of that benefit. So he does have a tier 6 foam with 2 rolls of statuses, so let's see how it does against that. I'm going to flag rogue, and this is with no buffs. This is what it does against that, so I'm stuck. Obviously moving my stick, can't do anything, gotta shoot it or break free to get out of that. So now, if I go over and I put down my booster to get the buff, it's going to hit me, and he's going to shoot again, and I'm free just like that. It still does trap you for a second, but you can move your stick and just get out of it without even having to hold X. And if you're already running, I think it breaks out of it even quicker. So you are going to get benefit from that. And if there's 4 of you and you're all shooting at the person who's foaming you, they're going to have a much harder time putting you down than if you didn't have it and if you were just by yourself running around without a hazard protection buff. Alright guys, and that is a comprehensive look at the support build for TU10.1. I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and the amount and quality of buffs you're able to distribute with this is really noticeable and fun to do, for me at least. I hope you guys enjoyed and are able to take advantage of this counter to all of the status builds in PvP, from burn to bleed to foam. This thing will have you covered. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Leave any thoughts or questions about the build down below. I hope you all have a great day, stay safe out there, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.
Allied agent now rogue. Rogue Stinger Hive detected. Dark Zone drop available. Explosive seeker mine detected. Nearby agent has become rogue. Nearby rogue agent killed.
If the enemy doesn't turn this around, they'll